Brandon Beane strikes again. Another extension to a superstar that just had his coming out party this past weekend. And Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator, is absolutely pumped about it. And so are we here at Bills Digest. Josh Schreiber here with Bills Digest. And we're going to dive into one of the single best individual performances we have seen by a Buffalo Bills player ever. But before I tell you about that performance, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. 88% of you guys watching this video right now have not done so yet, so go ahead, hit that button, and follow along for Bills Digest content and join our army here. But let's dive right into this, and what better way than to talk about James Cook? We'll get to that graphic in just a moment, but they let James Cook this past weekend against the Carolina Panthers. He went off. 19 carries, 214 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And guess what? He got taken out with 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. This guy is a superhuman. It is his coming out party, and everyone needs to know that he is here for real. Now, you may be wondering, why is this a Brandon Beane masterclass? Well, it's because earlier in the offseason, Brandon Beane signed James Cook to a contract extension that many of us did not think was going to be possible with the amount of other extensions he got done. But nevertheless, Brandon Beane cooked. And here is that contract. You see that the cap hit for James Cook, just $3.4 million this year, in the $5.5 million range next year, and then it climbs a little bit. But 4 years, $46 million was what the deal came out to, and that was a steal for what some of these running backs are about to get in free agency coming up. James Cook, as you see here, just in his age 26 season, he will be playing with the Bills through his age 30 season, and then after that, that is typically when running backs start to decline. Maybe that last year will be a little bit rough. We will see about that. But for what you're getting him for the peak years of his career, which should be this year, next year, and maybe the year after, he is on a very cheap deal, and he is by far the best player on this Buffalo Bills offense outside of Josh Allen. And to be quite honest, he's probably been better than Josh Allen this year. Now, what are the numbers that back that up? I'm about to show you. Here they are. James Cook rankings through 7 games this season. He's first in yards per game, first in yards per attempt, second in total rushing yards, and he is first in rushing attempts per game. Because of the Bills' bye week, he did play one less game than most of the other contending running backs. So that is why you see that this is through 7 games. And while other players have played 8 games, you see some other numbers that are going to blow you away. And this is one of them. He's second in the NFL in rushing yards and 4th in the NFL in total touchdowns. He's absolutely elite. He's just under 100 yards behind Jonathan Taylor. But if he played the same amount of games as Taylor, he would actually be ahead of him in terms of the total yards. In terms of rushing yards, it would be very close, but he is right there with Jonathan Taylor, who is having an absolutely legendary season. Look at these statistics here put out by Mike Bunt. James Cook is currently on pace for 1,800 rushing yards, 2,000 total yards, and 17 touchdowns on nearly 6 yards per carry. That is Hall of Fame numbers. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. That is first team All-Pro. This dude is absolutely legit, and he is the key to the Bills' success this year. They would not be where they are without him. Honestly, you could have put him out there in that Carolina Panthers game, and run him 30 times, and Josh Allen probably could have had a broken right arm. It wouldn't have mattered because he was picking up yardage after yardage after yardage. James Cook averaged 11.5 yards per rush on 19 carries against Carolina. So it's not like the 11.5 yards per rush were coming on a small sample size. 19 carries is well above average. In fact, this number is so staggering. Only 2 running backs in the history of the NFL have averaged 11.4 or more, 11.4 on runs, on more carries than James Cook did. In the year 2000, Corey Dillon had 22 carries for 278 yards. And in 1963, Jim Brown had 20 for 232. So 2 legendary names. And James Cook having the best game for a running back, arguably, in terms of efficiency in 25 years. This is not just an outstanding game. This is not just a great game by Bills standards. This is a game that holds up with the greatest games of all time in terms of running backs. And you say that with efficiency. Obviously, there are guys that have had more yards, that have had more touchdowns. But in terms of efficiency, James Cook had one of the greatest games ever. Now, you wonder, well, if he was so efficient, why didn't he have more yards? Well, this is why. James Cook's 216 rushing yards are the most by any player in a game in the last 35 seasons when not attempting a single rush in the fourth quarter. That is extremely telling, not only of what James Cook was able to do from a yardage standpoint, but from an absolute dominance standpoint. The Bills got the ball in short field multiple times, and the fact that Cook was still able to put up these gaudy numbers is almost incomprehensible. James Cook came out of the game and he scored his second touchdown of the game that got him up to that 216 yards. And he did that at a time where there was plenty of time in the game. I believe there was 4 minutes and 38 seconds left. I was lucky enough to be at this game, and I was in awe of watching what James Cook was doing on the football field. And it makes you wonder what could have been if the Bills were in a closer game, which I guess you could say it's hard to be in a close game when your running back is averaging 11.5 yards per carry. But if the Bills wanted to run up the score, like we've seen the Dolphins do, like we've seen the Lions do in the past, if the Bills wanted to run up the score, James Cook easily could have had a shot at the all-time rushing record. That record was held by, or still is held by, Adrian Peterson with 296 rushing yards. James Cook was just 8 carries away from breaking that record. 8 carries. That is an absolutely ridiculous number. If the Bills were in a closer game, he could have gotten 8 carries in 2 drives. That's all it may have taken. He would have certainly had a chance to break that record. Now, quite possibly the most incredible stat, in my opinion, or at least my favorite, is this. James Cook's 153 rushing yards in the first half are the most by any player in a first half since his brother, Dalvin Cook, did the exact same thing. He had 153 yards in 2021 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If that doesn't make you believe in some sort of higher power or that the football gods exist and really love the Cook family, I don't know what will. The fact that the last guy to do what James Cook did was his very own brother, and not only that, he had the exact same amount of yards as James Cook at the half. Cinema. Absolute cinema. Put up the meme. Absolute cinema. Fantastic work by the script writers for this one. James Cook, phenomenal first half, as you see there. And some more brother lore. James and Dalvin Cook are the only pair of brothers in NFL history with 200-plus yard rushing games in their careers. Phenomenal. The Cook brothers immediately inserting themselves as quite possibly the greatest sibling duo, at least on offense, in NFL history. Obviously, you could look at JJ and TJ Watt and their brothers for being in terms of all of the NFL, all positions, the best sibling duo. But James Cook and Dalvin Cook, they are certainly up there, especially if Dalvin Cook didn't have such a steep fall off in his career. And it hasn't just been the yardage that James Cook has thrived in. You see this graph here showing yards over expected per carry and also accounting for a team's run blocking numbers. So teams on the right here, they are the teams who have the best run blocking according to advanced metrics. And then on the left on this y-axis, you have yards over expected on average. So James Cook is nearly off the chart at yards over expected. He is absolutely killing it. Every time he touches the ball, he is doing something that analytics cannot explain. Another thing you see on this graph is a lot of these guys. You see Jonathan Taylor having a phenomenal year. Not as good as James Cook. You see Rico Dowdle having a really nice year. Not as good as James Cook. J.K. Dobbins, not as good as James Cook. Kamani Vidal, he has not had a big sample size at all, so I think that is a little bit misleading. But James Cook is topping out ahead of all of these guys. He is the real deal, and he has been born a superstar by Bills Mafia, by the national media, who are starting to really take notice of him. And I don't think it's crazy to say that he's a top 3 running back in the NFL right now. And finally, maybe the most important part is his touchdown efficiency numbers. James Cook totaled just 5 rushing touchdowns in his first 37 games. He has now scored 26 rushing touchdowns over his last 26 games. That is remarkable. A touchdown a game. I mean, to be able to do that on a team that has Josh Allen to poach touchdowns away from you, you can't be scoring 1-yard touchdowns because you get to the 1-yard line and most of the time the ball is going to Josh Allen. Allen had 2 1-yard rushing touchdowns in this Carolina Panthers game. It would have been very easy for James Cook to have 4 touchdowns in this game, but they give it to Josh Allen. Josh Allen can take it himself because it is the smart move. It is nearly a guarantee every time, but that just shows exactly how powerful James Cook has been, and he's been between the tackles. He can be a power guy. He can make a guy miss on the outside. He can blow by you. He is a do-it-all Swiss Army knife of a running back, and he is going to be the key to the Bills' success this season. He is back. Brandon Beane fleeced the NFL with this contract extension, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Leave a comment what videos you want to see, and maybe leave some projections. How many yards does James Cook finish with? Does he get over that 2,000-yard mark? Does he not? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Bills Digest.